Okay, onwards and upwards then, with this afternoon's kind of boxing catch-up after my recent technical difficulties over recent weeks. I'll quickly want to go over the fight, which was a non-title fight between Lamont Peterson and Danny Garcia. The fight pissed me off in the first place because it should have been for a title. Both men kind of pointing the finger a little bit. Don't like that at all. Not a fan of either guy, if I'm being honest. I've never been a Peterson fan. I think he's highly, highly overrated. And I especially don't like drug cheats as he was a couple of years ago. And as for Danny Garcia, I don't like fighters that kind of set a bar for themselves and fight really good fighters and then take about 10 steps back and fight fighters that really, on paper at least, shouldn't be in the same ring. And then also Danny Garcia's performances in recent times have badly slipped. Now, when I kind of got the reaction to this fight, now what I mean by this is I didn't watch the fight live, I must admit. My daughter wasn't very well and I had to spend the night with her. But when I got the post-fight reaction in the morning of what other people were saying on social media, it sounded to me like a clear robbery. People were saying Peterson won, Danny Garcia escaped the decision. So I'm kind of going into the fight with the impression that this is what I'm looking at, this is what I'm looking for. Then I watched the first 6 rounds and both guys didn't really do much at all, but Lamont Peterson hardly threw a punch. Like, there's one round, for example, and I actually counted in one round, Lamont Peterson only actually goes to attack Danny Garcia twice and in the process throws 7 punches. That's it for the whole round. I think there was like round 3 or 4. And then you're reading things like Lamont Peterson got robbed. I mean, Danny Garcia didn't do a lot either in the opening rounds, but he did more than Lamont Peterson did. And Peterson did come on strong in the later rounds of the fight and probably was more a deserving winner of some of the rounds later on in the fight than Danny Garcia was deserving of the win of the rounds earlier in the fight. But how can you say that's a robbery when a guy doesn't do anything for half a fight? You know, I mean, he barely threw a punch, especially in the first 3 rounds. I mean, he was fantastic in the last 6, don't get me wrong, I won't take anything away from Peterson. I liked his performance in the last 6 rounds of the fight, but in the first 6 rounds, he was nowhere. So, me personally, I scored it a draw. I had it quite straightforward, 114, 114. I thought both guys underperformed to what they're capable of performing at. I thought both guys made it an absolute boring fight with the way they decided to stylistically approach the fight in the opening few rounds of the fight. And, you know, from a fan's perspective, if you are a Danny Garcia fan, or if you are a Lamont Peterson fan, or maybe you're a fan of both guys, what was the point? What was the point? There was no title on the line. There's no #1 contendership on the line. You know, I suppose the only thing on the line really was personal pride. And kind of like, you know, namesake, like who's going to come out with a bigger ego and all that kind of shit. But for me, it was pointless. It was a pointless fight. It was a boring fight, apart from the last few rounds of the fight when Peterson started sticking on Garcia a little bit. And yeah, wasn't impressed. If you're a Danny Garcia fan, I would be extremely concerned because his performance levels just seem to be going down every time he fights. It's like he's peaked and now he's just... That's the way his performance levels are going. And Lamont Peterson, I don't get the hype. I never have got the hype. I don't rate the guy at all. You know, he got a fluky-ass win over Amir Khan, and he was a drug cheat. And then people built him up, was it for the Matisse fight? He's been a heavy-hitting fighter, and he got knocked the fuck out. And he got built up as a big fighter for the Garcia fight. Didn't look impressive apart from the last few rounds. You know, how many times am I going to hear people hyping up Peterson before a fight, and then he shows up and disappoints? So I don't want to hear that no more. And I don't want to hear no Danny Garcia hype train anymore because he's not on my pound for pound list, and he's not going to get there anytime soon with performances like that. Where do both guys go next? Well, you know, go fight the title. You know, do a title fight. Do what you should have done the last fight. And if the title was on the line in that last fight between Danny Garcia and Peterson, we might have actually seen a little bit more passion from both guys to want to go for it and entertain the fans and actually go for the win. So complete waste of a fight, pissed me off, bored me half to death for the first 6 rounds of the fight, and can't quite understand why people are quite saying it's a robbery. I could accept if you scored it in favour of Peterson, I could agree with that, but a robbery, no chance. Peace out.